Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path, and this is your Must Know Monday for Monday, June the 3rd, 2019. Today, I want to show you a brand new project that I call the Crown Ringless. So how this project came about, it's very happenstance. A few weeks ago, I was working on doing a encasement for a Ringlet, and I was determined to use Trinity Beads. And no matter what I did, it would not work out the way I wanted it to. But at the same time, I had bought these beautiful handmade glass beads by Nikki Thornburg. And I made a bead crochet necklace to go with them. And I wanted these beads just to go on the necklace. But the problem was just those 3 beads on the necklace didn't look good. And I happened to be ripping apart one of my samples for the Ringlet encasement one day, and it hit me. I was like, okay, well, I think this will fit on my bead crochet rope. And then the project was born. So basically, to do the basic crown ringlet, what you're going to need are Trinity beads, and I will show you what those are if you have no clue what I'm talking about. You're going to need a size 11 seed bead, as well as some 3mm bicones. Now, I'm going to show you a lot of different ways that you can use this one simple component to make lots of different jewelry pieces. So I'm going to show you the earrings that I have on today. They're super simple and they can be made as long or as short as you want them. I'm going to be showing you a double pair that has actually 2 interchanging. I'm going to show you a sample of how I used it as a spacer on my necklace that I made to go with Nikki's beautiful beads. I'm going to show you a sample of another necklace that I've done and a sample of a bracelet. So there are a lot of ways that this little component can be used. So let me go ahead and explain to you what a Trinity bead is. Alright, so the first thing we need to talk about is exactly what a Trinity bead is and the different sizes it comes in. So a Trinity bead is a 3-hole bead. You can see 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. So it has 2 sizes. The manufacturer calls the size a 3x6 or a 6x6. This size here, which is the bigger size, the manufacturer calls a 4x8 or an 8x8. Don't ask me why. I honestly think it was packaging problems when they first started these, but you will see the Trinities in these sizes, and this is the same exact thing as this. This is the same exact thing as this. So the ones we're going to be using today are this 3x6 or 6x6 size Trinity. I honestly don't even carry the big ones in my store as of right now. I honestly ordered these by accident, but it is a good problem because now you can see the 2 sizes. So this is the size we're going to be using today, and this is actually the spacer that we're going to be using today. So you can see here these 3 beautiful beads that I got from Nikki Thornburg. They're beautiful large hole beads. I crocheted a tube that is size 8 seed beads, and it's 6 beads around. And you can see here my spacers. So this is called I'm calling it the Crown Ringlets, and it is so simple. You guys are not even going to believe how simple this is. So let me go ahead and start with our first project. Alright, so the first thing I want you to notice is I have a brand new board that I'm working on today. It's from the Bead Wrangler, and this one is called, I think the Mermaid Finish is what this one is called. It's got a beautiful kind of iridescent blue-green fabric on it with this gray board, and Ree can put your name or initials or whatever you want on here, and she's put Off the Beaded Path. So be sure to check out Ree's website to see about these boards, and we'll link that below here in the video. But you can see here I have a pair made of the earrings that I had in. These here that are already made are beautiful. These are using the Pastel Montana Trinity with a crystal double AB 3mm bicone. Now you notice I have it on chain here, and you'll be able to make the chain as long or as short as you want it. The sample that I'm actually going to do for you today is using the pastel gray Trinities with a black diamond double AB bicone. So you can see that your crystals really are kind of your showcase on this bead. The samples that I have here in front of me are all just samples of ringlets that I have made. This one here is using the chalk white Trinities with jet double AB bicones. This one is the white with the crystal double AB bicone. These two here have pastel gray with, I think this is the emerald double AB bicones in them. And then this one is, I think, pastel bordeaux with fuchsia double AB bicones in them. So as in itself, it can make a great spacer, like I said, or a pair of earrings. So the earrings are going to be the first thing I'm going to show you today. Now, before we start working on our earrings, we need to talk about string of materials. I tested all of these materials to make the earrings with, or the ringlets, I should say. I tested the DuraThread, 6-pound fireline, KO thread, and 1G thread. All of these threads will work. Me personally, I like the DuraThread the best for this project, or the fireline, but all of these will work. So if you have any of these, that will work. Now, to make the small ringlets, the basic ringlet that we're going to start out with, I'm going to start with 1.5 yards of thread, but I want to double the thread. So that means we're going to put our needle in the middle. So no matter which thread you use, you will need to double your thread as you work, because you want your ringlet to be very stiff and tight, and that's going to be your best way to do it. So if you have any of these string of materials, you'll want to go ahead, thread your needle, and we'll get started. So to make the basic crown ringlet, which is just your smaller size ringlet, you're going to need 12 Trinity beads, just 24 size 11 seed beads, and 12 3mm bicone. Now that will make one ringlet. If you want to make more ringlets than that, you'll need to double, whatever you want. Now on these earrings, I've used a 4mm bicone here at the top. These earrings, I've used a 6mm bicone. So you can use both. It does not matter. So you will also need a bicone for the top. I'm sorry, I used a 3mm here, not a 4. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need some 26 gauge beading wire. 24 will work as well, but I've cut about 6 inches here of the thread or the wire, and I'm using some very, very tiny chain. This is some stainless steel chain that we carry. It's a 1.5 by 1 by 3mm chain, so it's very tiny. So I'm using 3 inches of it. So let's see here. So 3 inches, or if you're going centimeters, it's 7.5 centimeters. Okay, and of course ear hooks. So to get started, super easy, you're going to pick up an 11 and a Trinity bead 12 times. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it does not matter which hole of the Trinity you pick up on this step. Okay, so once you have your 12 beads on here, you are now going to take those 12, you're going to let them fall down, and I'm just leaving just a few inches of tail thread here, and I'm going to come back up through all 12 of those beads again. So from my little tails, back up. So I'm using a shorter needle, and I won't be able to get through all the beads at once, and that's fine. You just pull it tight, and then you continue going through your beads. Now, I'm going through the same holes of the Trinities that I've already been through, Okay, so I'm not going through a different hole. I'm going through the same hole. Okay, so now that I've gotten back through all the beads again, I'm going to take my tail threads and my working thread, and I'm going to tie those beads into a circle. Okay, and you want it tight. I guess you want every knot to be tight, but you get my drift. Okay, so now I have a knot that is between a size 11 seed bead and a Trinity. So let me see here if I can zoom in a little bit so it'll be easier for you to see. There we go. Okay. So my knot is right here between my 11 and my Trinity. So I'm going to hold my knot back, and I'm going to go through the Trinity right next to the knot. Now I'm going through the same exact hole. Okay, same hole that I've been through. Now I want to pull that through, and I'm going to take and do, oh, sorry guys. There we go. I'm going to take and I'm going to do a step up. So if you're familiar with a step up in a super duo, that just simply means you're going to go through the top hole of the super duo. Well, these have 3 holes. So the good thing is, for this step, you don't really have to worry about which one to go through. You can go through this one or this one. I'm just going to pick one. So currently my thread is exiting, I'm going to say towards the top here. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through one of the holes of my Trinities, going in the opposite direction. So when I pull it, you see a little thread there, but that's okay because this is going to be to the bottom and you're not going to see it once we actually get it going. So at this point, you can take and you can use a thread burner. You can use, people have asked me what kind of cutters I really like. I like this brand of cutter. This is actually a thread cutter, and it works really, really great for all sorts of threads. So you can go ahead and get rid of these tail threads. Now, the great thing about the DuraThread is when you put a knot in it, it's there. It's not coming out. So that's the really, really, oh, I think my batteries might be dead. Oh, no, there they go. When you put a knot in this stuff, it's there. It's not coming out. So you can stitch through and get rid of those threads, but I just burn them with my thread burner and keep going with what I'm doing. So I'm going to lay all of them out so it's easier for me to hold here in the center. So you can see kind of all of them are laid out, so I can hold it just like this between my thumb and my, I guess, middle finger is the best way to say it. So I'm going to pick up a size 11 seed bead, and I'm going to go through. If I hold it like this, you can see which hole I'm coming out here. It's just to the side. So I want to make sure I go through the same hole in the next Trinity. So I have my 11, and I'm going through the same hole that I'm coming out of in this first one. So at this point, we have to make sure that we go through the same little outer holes here of every Trinity that we're going to go through. Now, you want to pull it, and you want to pull it tight. So what's going to happen is it's going to start looking like this. You're going to start having those size 11 seed beads are going to lay kind of parallel to each other. And you want to keep it pulled tight. So it's going to start to pull, rather than being a flat circle, you're going to start to actually come into your shape. So you can see already how my shape is changing on the piece. Your biggest thing is just to pay attention and make sure that you are going through the same holes of the Trinities. And right now, I'm not pulling it super tight. I'm just pulling it enough kind of to pop the beads in. To me, I found it easier to do it this way, not pulling it tight just yet, because it allows me to be able to still hold the circle a little bit flat here in my fingers as I work. So that way I can make sure that I'm getting the correct hole in the piece. All All right, so I'm back to where I started. I'm back to this same Trinity that I started with. Oh, good grief, there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to pull the thread tight, and you can see it pulled tight. It's still very mushy, I guess is a good word to use. So I'm going to go through this round of beads again. So I'm not adding anything. I'm just going to go through those same beads. Now I'm using a size 10 tulip needle. You can use a size 12. It's completely up to you. Know that if you use a size 10, when we add the 3mm and we go to reinforce them, you have to be really careful because you might actually bust a 3mm. If you'll know once you've gone through and reinforced them and you're coming back to do it like even a third round, because it will get very, very tight and you could possibly bust your crystals, and we don't want that to happen. So if at this point, if you're going around, my goodness, I'm keeping everything here today. So right here was where I started because I can see my little knot there. But if you feel like your piece is still super squishy, then you may want to go back and reinforce again, or even go back and reinforce this side. To me, I'm just going to go ahead and put my crystals on there. Then I'll kind of know if I need to do any more reinforcement on my piece. So I want to exit a Trinity bead. So if you have to go through an 11 and then back out of an 11, that is fine. That's what I'm going to have to do. Here we go. Okay, so I'm coming out of the bottom hole, the bottom left hole of my Trinity. So I'm going to step up. So I'm going to go through the top hole of the same Trinity, working in the opposite direction. And again, I don't really have to worry about this thread right here because my crystals are going to cover that up and you're not going to see it. So I'm ready for my 3mm bicones here. So I'm going to, oh, I don't want to throw my bicone. I'm going to pick up a bicone, let's get it back there, and I'm going to go through the very next top hole Trinity. And I'm going to do this all the way around, picking up a bicone, going through the next little bead here, and picking up everything on my bead tray as I go. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to put my bicones in, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to reinforce those one more time. Alright, so I've gone through, I've added all of my 3mm bicones, and I have reinforced the piece. So I'm ready. If, like I said, if it still feels squishy at this point, you can go back and you can reinforce it. But to tie it off, I'm going to come out between a Trinity and a crystal here. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go under the thread between those two beads. I'm going to leave myself just a little loop. And I'm going to go through those loops, and I'm going to pull the thread, and then I'm going to go through a few more beads. And like I said, if you're using a 10, you're going to feel it. It's going to be really tight as you work, so be very careful. One of the reasons I really liked using the DuraThread for this project was because it has a really nice abrasion resistance. So I was able to use these crystals and be able to pull the thread really tight and not have to worry about the thread breaking, because it actually did break with me when using the fireline. I'm going to take my cutters. I'm going to trim. Whoop. Well, let me get it pulled here. There we go. Trim those threads so that now you have your actual ringlet. Now you're ready to start working on the earring. Alright, so now you're ready to actually finish off and make your earring. So I'm going to be using my 26 gauge piece of wire. I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm going to come down about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and I'm going to make a bend straight out 90 degrees. I'm going to put the pliers right back in there, and I want to make a small loop, so I'm going to hold the wire here close to the tips of my pliers. I'm going to take this short piece of wire and I'm going to bend it back over the top. Now I'm going to readjust, so I'm going to let go and I'm going to grab a hold like this, and then I'm just going to continue to bend that loop so that it makes a loop like this. If it's too small of a loop, you can open it a little bit back up. The main thing is we don't want to close this loop entirely, because we are going to put on the end of one of our pieces of little chain here. We're going to thread on a ringlet, and then I'm going to put on my other end of my chain. And like the good thing, like I said, about using chain is that you can cut the chain as long or as short as you want for the earring. So now I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm going to hold the loop. So right across, I'm going to hold that loop. And now you can either use your fingers, because this is so thin. You can use your fingers, or you can use a bent nose pair of pliers, whatever you want. But you're just going to wrap, and each loop that you wrap, let me see if I can get it in here, needs to go right below the one that you just made. So holding your loop across will allow you to have a nice loop still. And we're going to trim the wire, and you can see I only did about 2 wraps because it doesn't take much. Now I'm going to thread on my bicone, whatever size you choose to use, and then I'm going to make another loop. So if you need help knowing how to make loops, you can check out, I've got several Must Know Monday videos on how to make loops. And the pliers, I know I'm going to get asked, the pliers that I'm using are a new plier from the Beadsmith called Chroma pliers. The pliers run $15 each, and I do have those for sale as pre-orders on my website. The only one that, okay, so real quick, you can see right here my loop's a little bit off, so I'm just going to grab a hold of it and straighten it out, and then open up my loop here on my ear hook. I'm going to bend it straight up, thread on my loop, close it, and now I have my pair of really simple ringlet earrings. But back to the pliers. There are a pre-sale on my website. The only one I do not love are the cutters, because the cutters don't have a nice pointy tip, and so they don't actually cut as well. But the others are working really well. I actually have been working with them, doing some wire working and such, and you can see that the color's not coming off, and it's not marred my pliers. So, and they're have this awesome finger grips on them, so they're nice. But now let's go to the next earrings. Okay, so the next earring I'm going to show you how to make with the Crown Ringlets is this interlocking earring. The great thing about these Crown Ringlets is that you really can make them in different sizes. The one that I showed you before, where we did them in these earrings, this one has 12 Trinities. This top one has 11 Trinities, and this bottom one that I interlaced with that has 13 Trinities. The one I'm going to be showing you today, just for difference purposes and so you can see it a little bit better, this top one has 12. This bottom one has 18 Trinities, so it's got a lot more to give you a more substantial Trinity. So really you can make these ringlets in whatever size that you want, and that's the really great thing about them. So to do these actual double interlocking ones, you are going to have some size 15 seed beads, and the size 15 seed beads are going to be for the top to actually hang your ear hook on. You're going to need your Trinities, a size 11 seed bead, and your 3mm Bicones. Now, I can't really tell you a count on your Trinities because I don't know the size that you're actually going to want to make, but just know that the one I'm making for you today has 12 here in the top and 18 here in the bottom. So to make a pair of earrings, you're going to double that amount of Trinities that you'll need. So I started just like the very beginning. I did a basic crown ringlet, and I'm coming out of the top hole of one of my Trinity beads. Now this is where those size 15 seed beads are going to come in, because once you get that done and you're coming out of the Trinity, you're going to pick up 6 15s. And you're going to come, my thread is exiting here to the right, So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back through the same top hole of that Trinity bead, and you want to be very careful there. There we go. So that way when I pull it through, it's going to make a loop. Now the good thing is I don't have to worry about reinforcement of the loop because my thread is doubled here, but now I'm going to go through and tie some 1/2-inch knots and get rid of the thread on this one so that my top ringlet is actually complete. So now that my top ringlet is complete, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thread on my 18 seed beads and Trinities here. Now before I come back through those again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just thread on my crown ringlet, my small one. Now this is where I'm going to go back through all the beads again. But again, I'm using a shorter needle, so I'm not going to be able to get through all the beads at one time. So I'm going to go through a few beads and then I'm going to pull this thread on through. And the good thing is, once I pull it, my ringlet is there. My crown ringlet is there, and now I can just keep going through and doing the reinforcement and finishing out this earring. So I'm just gonna keep reinforcing, getting back to that tail thread. And on this one, because it is so large, I will actually tie my threads like I did on the original crown ringlet. I'll go ahead and tie them, but then I will go ahead and I'm going to go through and reinforce this same side one more time before I go over to the other side and keep doing the ringlet. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take and tie it, and then like I said, I go through and reinforce it and continue it so that when I finish it, it will look just like this. And then we attach the top ear hook to our little loop that we created on the original ringlet. So these are super easy to make, and like I said, you can change up your counts. It does not have to be that one size. Now I also wanted to show you a fun necklace. Now I'm not going to actually demonstrate the necklace itself, but I wanted to show you what I did with some more of the ringlets. So I've used 3 ringlets here, and I have put 2, 4, 5, so I've got 10 pieces of ultra or micro suede in it, and I've used these roller beads to actually make some little tassels, I guess you would say, and I've put a bead on and just made a knot, and I've done several of those so that it's a nice long necklace. And I've really used those 3 little new beads there as a showcase for the necklace. Now on top of all of this, you can also make a bracelet. Now the bracelet will have changes that you need to make to it. I knew people were going to ask, how small can I make this component? So you can make this all the way down to a 6 bead, and let me kind of get in here for you. So this one only has 6 Trinity beads in it. The main difference, if you want to do a bracelet like this one, you have to switch it over and you have to use 4mm fire polish beads. Bicones don't work as well, but the fire polish beads work really, really well. And this is still using that same size Trinity bead. So we started out exactly like, and I am sorry y'all, the curtains are moving. I've got the air on and the curtains are moving. So I'm going to pick up just 6 here. So I'm going to do a seed bead and a Trinity 6 times. Okay, so you can see here 2, 4, 6. I'm going to let these drop down, and the same thing, I'm doing doubled thread on these. So I'm going to come through all 12 beads again. And remember, pull the threads up like this to make sure you're getting all the slack out of the threads. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie these into a circle. And we're going to do it the exact same way I'm going to go through the Trinity bead right next to the knot, put in my next row of 11s, and then just add in my 4mm fire polish. This component is so quick. You can really work up a bracelet super easy and quickly. The great thing about the bracelet, especially this one, is it's a good way to use up any extra fire polish beads that you might have if you just have a small stash of some left over, because that's what I did here. These, I know that some of you may recognize them, some of you may not, but these were actually colors that I had left from the wrap bracelet that I made a few weeks ago on one of the YouTube videos. And so I only had 15 of each of those beads left, so I used them here in the bracelet and just made a multicolored bracelet. So when you do your 6, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to go through again. And the great thing about this small component is I normally just thread my needle with, say, like a complete yard of thread, so it's 2 yards, but then you double it. I go ahead and do the yard, and so I can make a lot of components out of this one piece of thread and not have to keep rethreading needles, so it's quite nice in that aspect. So once you do it, you've got this. I'm going to hold my tails out of the way for now. I'm going to jump up to that top hole just like we've been doing. This is where I'm going to grab a hold of my fire polish. And again, this is a 4mm fire polish, not a 3mm. 3s, you got way too much space in between them and they won't work. Bicones just work, but the fire polish are a perfect fit. So you can see what it's already turning into. And I'm going to completely finish this component because I want to show you how they actually will connect to each other if you want to do a fun bracelet with them. Okay, so I'm going to reinforce this and I'm going to get rid of my tails. I've already have another one made so that I can show you actually how we're going to connect these. The connection of your components is super easy. You're going to come out of a 4mm fire polish bead. So I'm coming out to the right on this one. I'm going to pick up 2 size 11 seed beads and I'm going to come to a fire polish on a second component. I'm going to go through that bead from right to left. Then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11s and I'm going to go through the fire polish I started with, going from left to right. So that when I pull that tightly, now those 2 components are connected. So the original bracelet that I made has 2, 4, 6, 8 components. And I connected all of them exactly like I just showed you on this one. The thing is, when I finished it, it wasn't quite long enough for my wrist. So I came back to the first and last component and I came off and did a little box of right angle weave off of the first and last component. And you'll notice my first and last component don't match since I used different colors. So I made sure to use the same color fire polish as I did my last component and my first component. And then I just attached a clasp to it. So each of your components is going to be, if I lay it over the top of the component is about 3/4 of an inch itself, or that's what you've got in centimeters there. But that will be about your sizing. So if I do, let me bring you out here a little bit so you can see. There we go. So this completed one that I have here, the beadwork itself is 6 1/4 inches long, or there are your centimeters so that you can see there. But you can see and kind of determine about your length for that one. So once I have it done here, then if you want to, you can stitch to this side and you can either make a loop of seed beads or do your right angle weave box to make it longer. It's completely up to you. This is just a basic bracelet using this same ringlets tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the crystal ringlets. As you can see, they're really versatile and you can do a lot with them. So no matter if you're making a spacer for a necklace and some special beads, or you're making a simple bracelet or a pair of earrings with them, they're really quick and really easy to make. Now, because I've showed you such a variety of projects today, we're not making kits for each of those projects. But what we're doing is we're going to be selling a sampler of Trinity beads on our website for this specific video. So you can go on there and you're going to get a sampler pack that has 10 colors of Trinities, and they're going, well, actually they may have a 5-pack and a 10-pack. I'll have to kind of see. But we're going to have that sampler pack. There's going to be 8 grams of each color. So that way you can make 8 grams. Where are my samples? Oh, here we go. 8 grams. Was able to make 2 12 rings, 2 18 rings, and still have some more left over for another 12 ring or so. So you're going to get a good many in there to be able to make some rings. So really the only thing you're going to need besides that are size 11 seed beads, which, let's face it, we're all bead hoarders and we all have tons of size 11 seed beads in our stash if you've been beading anytime whatsoever. So you're going to need a size 11 seed bead and 3mm Bicones. Now I will tell you, some people are going to ask about the fire polish. The fire polish do work. They just don't turn out as well as if you use it with the 3mm Bicones. So that is that. We also have the DuraThread for sale on our website. It comes in a 100-yard spool and a 50-yard spool, and it comes in white and black in that, as well as all of the other string of materials we sell on there. So be sure to check out offthebeadedpath.beadstore.com. Be sure to check out Nikki's website to see these beautiful handmade glass beads that she does. And I also wanted to show you one more really special bead that I got in the mail this week. This one is by Barbara Mcguire. So let me see. Okay, here's Barbara's info there, and let me see if I can get it in even closer. There we go. Okay, so this is Barbara's information. She makes beautiful polymer clay stuff, and she was having a trunk show on one of the Facebook sites that I am on, and I ended up buying this beautiful, let me see if I can, beautiful polymer clay cabochon, and it's a fairy, and it is so pretty. It's 100% polymer clay. She's not drawn any of that on there, so I think that's absolutely amazing. So also, you know, as well as checking out Nikki, make sure you check out Barbara Mcguire for some awesome new components for your jewelry making. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. And with this being the first week of June, if you're at Bead and Button this week, come search me out. I'm gonna be at Bead and Button show in Wisconsin. Maybe there Wednesday night at Meet the Teachers. I'll be there Thursday night when the show floor opens, and I'll be there some on Friday. So I can't wait to see you. If you're coming to the show, make sure to say hey to me. You have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.